So on this video, we're going to discuss engaging participation and pride of ownership. So people who get involved tend to be more committed to a particular path than those who are just visiting. This is true whether you are doing retail sales or online sales. However, in a face-to-face presentation, people are naturally involved because a social interaction is taking place and they usually give you their full attention. Online, people may be surfing the web and be multitasking on their PCs. You don't know if you have their attention or not since you're not directly there to give them eye contact. So, how do you get them involved in your site if you can't reach out through their terminal and put the product in their hands? Well, the solution is a lot easier than you might think since social networking sites are now more predominant. Blogs, discussion groups, forums, and even surveys and games can be a way to engage the person to stop for a moment and interact with your website. Once you've engaged their participation, they will start to identify with your site more. Now, if you get them to become a regular visitor who comments on your blog or has tried out some of your products, they start to feel like this is their home. They start to take pride in being part of your site, and it can give them feelings like pride of ownership. So, what's the strategic plan? Direct sales, like mail marketing, use something called an involvement device to get people involved over a long distance. That is something that they can touch and feel and that asks for some participation on their part. The one involvement device that comes to mind is some of the advertisements that ask you to peel a sticker from a particular part of the advertisement and place it somewhere else to signal your acceptance of the offer. It seems very simplistic that having someone place a sticker or add a business card or drop something into a slot could ever increase sales, but it does. Once a person becomes involved in the sales process, they are more apt to pay attention and buy. Any device that engages the reader brings them into the buyer process and reduces their resistance to the offer. You don't just want to use an involvement device, you typically want to use something that ties into what you are selling. That's why Facebook applications are so popular because they're a great involvement device that typically ties into the product or company and provide a way for people to associate their participation with some company or product. Then, if there is a link available back to the website, you are already primed to consider this part of your virtual heritage. Another type of involvement device is, for instance, advertisements that ask you to draw a picture to see if you qualify for drawing lessons. You find that you get so involved in getting the picture done right that you can hardly wait to mail it off and receive an offer for classes in the mail. Not only did those advertisers correctly identify people who might have an interest in buying art classes, but they also got them so involved they probably waited by the mailbox to see if they were accepted for this offer. That's very clever marketing. The key there is that involvement device used was directly related to the product or service being sold. You can still use an involvement device that merely gets a person to participate. And online, that would be like getting a comment on a blog. A person has taken some action that has gotten them involved in your community. But did it make a sale? Not really. It might later, but not right away. So the best involvement devices are those that are tied directly to the product or service you are trying to market. So what are the psychological triggers? Have you ever seen a baby find a new toy and become completely fascinated by it? It captures their attention and all their old toys get ignored while they explore the new object. They may put it in their mouths, stare at it intently, shake it, or even smash it on the floor. They get highly involved in just touching it and trying to get as much experience as they can out of it. Well, adults still have that fascination with new toys. And that's part of the psychology of offering them something new that brings up the childish wonder of exploration. The other thing is that people love to be challenged and to beat something and identify themselves as a winner. Some love puzzles, games, and involvement devices can include different levels that differentiate their ability from other people and give them a sense of pride that they made it to a certain level. Another way to involve people is to make it fun. Who doesn't want to include a little entertainment in their day? In fact, entertainment is one of the most sought after things in our Western culture. If you happen to provide a fun involvement device that also happens to lead them to your product, all the better. They get to have some fun and you end up with a sale. So, in a sense, it's a win-win. Also, people tend to distrust a product that they can't see, touch, or feel. So in direct retail sales, the involvement device is typically the ability to try on a dress before buying, kick the tires of a new car or test drive it, or even get a free makeover at a makeup department store booth. They want the experience of possessing the item before they actually purchase it. These type of retail actions are simple ways to involve a person by just allowing them to touch it or experience the product firsthand. This becomes a little harder in the virtual world of online sales because your product is not there to have and hold. But you can still produce some very good involvement devices and even virtual visualization and experience ads that can lead them to a bigger sale. So how do you implement this effectively? Since we're basically concerned with turning traffic from your website into customers, we want to really understand how to create an involvement device online. It's really not that hard once you understand the concept. What you want to do is put yourselves in the customer's shoes and see how you can get them engaged in at least visualizing themselves using your product or service. In the first strategy, you can simply provide a novel and fun gimmick to your site to get them involved. If you are a dating site, for instance, you might want to add a compatibility test or a personality test to your website. Once they complete that, you can sell the service by saying, find compatible people who match your personality on our site. It not only gets them involved right away, but it appeals to ego, identity, a large reason people join community sites like those. Social networking is great for forming groups of people who can interact with each other. In a sense, the people on your site become the involvement device that attracts more people. If you're trying to sell memberships, you want to highlight who is already on your site and why it's worth it for them to join so they can network with them too. If you really think about it, your entire website can be an involvement device. It has buttons people can push, drop-down menus they can fiddle with, and maybe videos they can watch. So you can do the same thing when you are selling a particular product. Just be careful that you don't get too fancy. Some people try to involve their visitors by adding incredible technologies that look great on a new PC, but can't be open on older models. You don't want to lose a customer because the involvement device is too complicated or it crashes their computer. You want something simple and you want it to appeal to the psychology more than the technology. When you are marketing people offline, you can also provide involvement devices that lead back to your product online. There are now business cards that are mini CD-ROMs that can be loaded into a computer and lead people straight to your website. Just the fascination of seeing something so small, so cute, and so novel will get people to put it in their machine to see what it does. Once they're on your site, you can involve them further with other involvement devices. But what if you're selling engagement rings online? How could you possibly create an involvement device for that? Won't someone want to try the ring on first before buying? Here's where you see the magic of the internet really shine. You can hire a programmer to build a database of your inventory and an applet that allows them to build a ring online in a virtual world. Thus, they do not only get the fun of creating something online, but they get to try out the ring too, in their imagination. It's the closest thing to actually being in a retail store where they can hold the ring in their hands. It may take a bit more programming and sophistication, but if your market demands a virtual tryout, there are ways to do this, as many online diamond marketers have proven. Your call to action can also include an involvement device or a fun game by allowing them some discount for performing a specific function on your site and thus getting access to a coupon code. Once they have that coupon code, wouldn't they want to use it to get the discount? So you lead the potential buyer from their fun game straight back to your product or service. Finally, even emails or sales copy can get the reader involved. If you happen to use the person's name in them and help them to imagine what it's like to experience your product. If you have a product that you can personalize, that also will give a person a feeling of pride and ownership before they've gotten the product in their hands. As can be seen, there are a great many ways to use this strategy online to help promote participation and involvement with your website and products. So, timing this strategy. This strategy works best at the very beginning of your sales funnel, or even before. You should have at least a few involvement devices on your website to help you create membership if you are a social networking site. Otherwise, people lose interest in just writing posts and move on. If you have a fun game or add a video from YouTube when they first land on your page, your website appears more interactive and live. Have you ever seen the sign on the side of the road as you're waiting in a traffic jam that says, "You could live here"? That is a simple device that helps you imagine how much time you could save living there, how much nicer your life would be, and how you could own a condo there if you just took the initiative to walk in the door. That's a very powerful involvement device, and it wasn't even in a sales brochure. You might have not even been thinking of buying a condo up until then. So that explains that the timing on this strategy is sometimes even before the person has realized that your company even exists or what your products are. You can wait for them to somehow stumble upon your site, but why not go out to places where people in your target demographic are and just put a link to your fun experimental involvement device there. You don't have to sell the product. You don't have to tell them at the end of the day they'll be solicited to buy a product. Once they choose to try this out, they will be hooked and you will have created a sales opportunity where none existed. Once you have the person involved in the product, you can continue to keep them involved by upgrading the experience. This will create a habit, reducing their resistance to future purchases too. So if you are using a game, make sure you have various levels. Keep the strategy going continuously and vary it every now and then to keep people involved in buying. Put this strategy to good use and it will guarantee you some really good results from your website or applied in even a brick and mortar store. See you on the next video.